Man, picture this. You're cruising down a dusty back road in a 20-year-old German SUV, engine growling like a pissed-off bear, and it's outmuscling half the shiny new 2025 models on the lot. Think I'm nuts? Stick around, because I am about to drop 12 old-school German beasts that make you question everything you know about modern SUVs, and one hidden gem I am saving for the end that blow your freaking mind. Buckle up, gearheads. This is gonna be one hell of a ride. Welcome to Gartic, the channel where we live and breathe cars, where rubber meets the road and stories come alive under the hood. I'm just a guy who spent more time with wrenches than people, and today, we're re-diving into a dozen German SUVs from yesteryear that could still run circles around the high-tech, overpriced rides of 2025. These ain't your grandpa's station wagons. These are machines built when engineers cared more about soul than sales figures. Let's roll. First up, the 2003 BMW X5 4.8 is. This thing was a middle finger to the idea that SUVs had to be boring. A 4.8-liter V8 pumping out 355 horses. It was like BMW strapped a sports car to a tank. Back then, it was hauling families to soccer practice while secretly dreaming of the Nürburgring. Compared to the 2025 X5's hybrid nonsense, this old dog's raw power and hydraulic steering feel like a lost art. You could drift it through a gravel lot and still have room for the kids' hockey gear. J.D. Power gave it an 81/100ths for reliability, and you can snag one today for under 15 grand. Tell me that ain't a steal. Now let's talk about the 2001 Mercedes-Benz ML55 AMG. This was Merc's first crack at making an SUV a muscle car, and holy hell, did they nail it. A 5.4-liter V8 with 342 horsepower. It sounded like thunder rolling through Stuttgart, the new GLC 350e. Sure, it's got 50 miles of electric range, but it's got no heart. The ML55 was a brawler, soft leather inside, but it'd eat ruts and potholes like a monster truck. Maintenance about $1,000 a year, but worth every penny when you're smoking Civics at stoplights. I knew a guy who ran his ML55 for 300,000 miles, only changing the oil and brakes. Try that with a 2025 plug-in. Then there's the 2005 Porsche Cayenne Turbo. Porsche purists lost their minds when this dropped, calling it a betrayal. But 450 horsepower from a twin-turbo V8, that's no sellout, that's a statement. It'd hit 60 in 5.3 seconds, faster than most sports cars of its day. The 2025 Cayenne GTS. Yeah, it's quick, but it's all digital nannies and eco-mode crap. The old turbo had a manual gearshift feel, even with the auto box and a suspension that begged you to push it. Used ones go for about 20 grand now, and with a J.D. Power score of 81/100ths, they're tougher than a barroom brawler. Let's shift gears to the 2008 Audi Q7 4.2 FSI. Audi was late to the SUV game, but they showed up with a sledgehammer. This thing had a 4.2-liter V8 kicking out 350 horses, and that quattro all-wheel drive made it stick to corners like it was on rails. I took one through a snowy mountain pass once, and it laughed at the ice while lesser SUVs were spinning into ditches. The 2025 Q7's got a fancy 12.3-inch virtual cockpit, but it's lost that raw mechanical edge. The old Q7's maintenance runs about $900 a year, but with only 4 recalls, it's a tank you can trust. Now, here's a curveball, the 1998 Volkswagen Touareg V10 TDI. Yeah, VW made a diesel monster before Dieselgate was even a thing. A 5.0-liter V10 with 310 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque, enough to tow a house. This thing was over-engineered like a Cold War bunker. Compared to the 2025 Tiguan's Milk with Toast 2.0-liter, the Touareg V10 was a middle finger to fuel economy, but it'd climb a mountain with a trailer in tow. You can find one for under 12 grand, and with a maintenance cost of about $700 a year, it's a budget beast. Let's not sleep on the 2006 BMW X3 3.0i. The 2004 Mercedes-Benz G-Class G55 AMG is next. The G-Wagon was already a legend, but AMG turned it into a freaking superhero. A 5.5-liter V8 with 349 horsepower. It was a boxy missile that could off-road like a Land Rover and outrun a Mustang. The 2025 G550's 6-cylinder is a downgrade, no matter what the spec sheet says. The old G55's hand-built vibe and that glorious V8 rumble, untouchable. Expect to pay 25 grand used, but with a maintenance cost of around $1,200 a year, it's worth it for the swagger alone. Now, the 2010 Audi Q5 3.2 FSI. This was Audi's answer to the BMW X3, and it brought the fight with a 3.2-liter V6 pushing 270 horses. Silky smooth, with a cabin that felt like a private jet. The 2025 SQ5's faster, but it's sterile, like driving an iPad. The old Q5 had soul, and with only 2 recalls and $885 a year in maintenance, it's a no-brainer for 15 grand. I saw one pull a boat out of a muddy ramp, while the owner grinned like a kid. The 2007 Porsche Macan didn't exist yet. but the Cayenne S filled that slot with a 4.8-liter V8 cranking 385 horses. It was less insane than the turbo, but still a riot to drive. The 2025 Macon Electric. Quick, but it's missing that V8 growl that made the Cayenne a legend. Used Cayenne S models are about 18 grand, and with a JD Power score of 80 to 100ths, they're built to last. Let's hit the 2002 Volkswagen Touareg V8, VW's first real SUV, and it came out swinging with a 4.2-liter V8 and 310 horsepower. It shared bones with the Cayenne and Q7, so you knew it was legit. The 2025 Atlas is a minivan in disguise. The old Touareg was a proper adventure rig. You can find one for 10 grand, and maintenance is dirt cheap at $600 a year. I knew a guy who took his 2 Moab and came back with stories that make your hair stand up. The 2012 Mercedes-Benz GL 450 is another gem, a 4.7-liter V8 with 335 horsepower. It was a luxury liner that could still get dirty. The 2025 GLS is all about screens and soft closed doors, but the GL 450 had grit. Used prices hover around 20 grand, and with a maintenance cost of $1,100 a year, it's a solid bet. My cousin ran his GL 450 for a decade, and it never let him down. Finally, the 2009 BMW X650i. This was BMW's weird love child, a coupe's UV hybrid, with a 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 pumping 400 horses. It was ridiculous, impractical, and glorious. The 2025 X6 is sleeker, but feels like it's trying too hard. The old X6 was unapologetic, and you can snag one for 16 grand. Maintenance about $1,200 a year, but you're driving a unicorn. Now, for that hidden gem I promised. The 1999 Mercedes-Benz ML 430. Not the fastest, not the flashiest, but this 4.3-liter V8 with 268 horsepower was the blueprint for every luxury SUV that followed. It was tough as nails, with a unibody that could take a beating and a ride that felt like floating. The 2025 GLC can't touch its charm. I met an oldtimer who's been driving his ML 430 since new 400,000 miles and counting. You can find one for 5 grand, and it'll outlast half the new stuff on the road. So, why do these old German SUVs still hold up? Because back then, they built cars to drive, not to sell subscriptions. They had soul, guts, and a point to prove. The 2025 models. Too many screens, too little heart. Next time you're hunting for a ride, skip the dealer and hunt down one of these legends. You'll thank me when you're grinning behind the wheel. Thanks for riding along, gearheads. If this hit you in the feels, smash that like button and share it with your crew. But here's the big question. What the one old school SUV you'd bring back to life? Drop it in the comments, and let's keep the fire burning. See you on the road.